To us, she was Mum. To the grandkids, she was Grandma Rose. And to most of you here, she was Aunt Rose. When we first started talking about how to tell Mum's story, we felt we were each talking about very different experiences of Mum, partly depending on where you fell in the birth order. But the more we talked, the more we realized we weren't remembering differently at all. We were remembering the same gift. Mum made people feel at home. That was simply who she was. She didn't need grand gestures. She didn't need to be the loudest person in the room. She loved people in ordinary ways, and somehow those ordinary ways became unforgettable, became the feeling of home, the memories. The smell of cinnamon buns or fresh bread when you walked through the door. How lucky you felt if a cinnamon bun had cooled just enough to slowly unravel it and bite in. Her legendary buns. She must have baked thousands over the years, not just for Dad and 7 hungry kids or grandkids, but for every wedding guest that ever had cold cuts and buns at a midnight buffet in a community hall. The permanent bread dough stuck in her wedding rings was further evidence of her prowess. Her love of travel and her spunk, making poor Mum run for the train. Marilyn and Cousin Lynn leaning out of the train door yelling, "Run, Mum! Run, Auntie Rose!" just as the train was about to leave. "We'll meet you in Amsterdam." Thank God Mum made it onto the train. Pretty impressive for someone in her 60s. The grandkids have their own memories of Grandma Rose. By far the most common, etched in their minds, was the unmistakable bing of the crystal candy bowl every time you lifted the lid to sneak a few jujubes. Mum never minded. The real danger was their parents hearing the constant chiming and knowing exactly what they were up to. When we asked the grandkids what they remembered the most, the answer kept coming back the same. Not a particular gift, not a special event, just love. There is a golden lighthouse clock on my mantle that has become a family treasure. The grandkids and the great-grandkids have sleepy memories of watching the little sailboat go around and around as they drifted off to sleep. For us older ones, the clock brings back memories of growing up in a house where there was always room for one more person. Over the years, Norm Hagel, Uncle Albert, Aunt Marie, and Aunt Margaret all lived with us at one time or another while they studied. Uncle Albert gave Mum that clock when he was with us, much to our delight. Mum was the oldest girl and right hand for Grandma Hagel. She quit school to help Grandma take care of the house and the other kids. Supporting family was a big part of who she was. A great cook and baker who everyone turned to for family recipes, to learn how Grandma did things, and sometimes for a place to live. Mum's care and kindness wasn't limited to family. She volunteered with many groups. If someone was struggling, she did what she could to help. We all remember the year that Mum and Dad gave away our Christmas tree to the struggling family next door. It's now a fond memory of how generous they were. She never made big announcements about helping people. She simply saw a need and responded. Looking back now, we honestly don't know how she did everything she did. It's amazing that she and Dad raised 7 kids through the move to Vancouver and back, financial pressures, long stretches when Dad worked away from home and Mum had to take care of the family alone, illnesses, and all of the ordinary chaos that comes with a large family. But she managed. She was an amazing sewer. She sewed our clothes, starting with the older ones and then cutting the pattern down for the next in line. She even sewed her own bras. She patched, she baked, she cooked, she canned. She taught us our prayers. She cut our hair. Oh, cutting bangs using Scotch tape as a guide did leave us with bowl cuts, but it was very efficient, which I guess you need to be when you're raising 7 kids. She kept a household running that by today's standards feels almost impossible. Despite all of that, none of us remember feeling like we were a burden. We don't remember her stressed. As children, we assume that was normal. As adults, we realize it's extraordinary. As an aside, you think she would relax when the kids got older, Instead, she volunteered more and became a master blanket crocheter and ran the gamut of craft making. We all have plastic canvas Christmas ornaments, and some have colorful fabric-covered plastic swans from her Mod Podge period. And the most amazing thing isn't how hard she worked. It's that there was always time for play and laughter along with the work. And she had a sense of humor and joy. The day she shook a bottle of milk that had frozen just enough to pop the lid off and cover herself from head to toe, 2 little boys, Rick and Don, cracked up. Once Mom got over the surprise, she laughed just as hard as they did. She was tricky, too. Telling us to stay out of Christmas goodies wasn't working, so one year she told us that Aunt Marie was storing her Christmas stash in our freezer, and ours was at Aunt Marie's, so we didn't touch it until Christmas Eve when Mom told us to go and get all of it out of the freezer and put it on the plates for everyone. She chuckled pretty hard at the look on our faces. What? But it only works once. Home wasn't perfect, but it was warm, it was funny, and it was alive. When we think about Mom today, we don't remember one grand achievement. We remember that she fed people, comforted, welcomed, reached for babies with joy and a big smile, made room at the table and in her heart. Home wasn't a place, it was wherever Mom was. And because of her, every one of us knows what it feels like to be welcomed, to be cared for, and to belong. That is a remarkable legacy that will ripple in this family for generations to come.